Okay, so Shemot starts off with a list that should be familiar to you. From not so long ago, Vela Shemot, Bnei Yisrael, by Mitzrayim, and Yaakov, Ishu, Vau, Ruvain, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Issachar, Zvulun, Binyamin, etc. And we had this list already a few parshiot ago, towards the end of Breshit, right, Vayigash. So tell me, why do we start Shemot the way we ended Breshit, or almost ended Breshit?
Rashi says.
Yeah, what does he say?
Show the preciousness of the Jews. Is that a different time?
No, you're absolutely correct. Rashi, Lishita, so as he always does, says, Avo b'sheminan b'chayehem b'shmotam chazra minama achar mitatan lahodia chibatam. Right? You're right, it's totally doubled, but God loves us a lot, or whatever. The Torah loves expressing God's love for us a lot. And therefore we double it. Now the Rashbam, right, gives another explanation. Like, what does he say?
I don't know, but is this where the Rashbam says about how he spoke to Rashi about?
No. That's in 37:2 in Breshit.
Okay.
But what does he say? He just says, look, what was the point of the last time the list was written? Yeah, and to enumerate how few Jews there were. Right? What's the point of doing the list now?
So how few Jews there were?
No, to tell you how many, because 3 psukim later, right, 4 psukim later, it's right, Vayamin Yosef v'chol achav v'chol darahu. That generation that came down died, and as soon as they died, what happened? Bnei Israel paru v'yishrasu v'yirbu v'yatzmu ba'od ma'od v'tim le'aretz ha'atam. Right, meaning we went from being 70, where it wasn't a problem, to being a severe political problem because we exploded. Right, therefore it's there we're showing this is all there was, and here we're saying, look, by the time we got to this point, meaning Shemot, the backdrop to Shemot, it is no longer true that we are only 70 people. We are at the point where there is a lot more people. Okay, what else? Why else might it be here?
I mean, this is a nice introduction to the whole story of Shemot. It's kind of...
Yeah.
I mean, if you view them as a direct continuation, Breshis into Shemot, then maybe it wouldn't. But if you view it as like a kind of separate sefer, as a beginning of the story.
Perfect. Right. What?
Yeah, it's the beginning of a new story.
Correct. Now, what's the story? Right. What's the story? Specifically, what's the story?
The story of the Exodus.
Moshe.
Well, there's the slavery and subsequent Exodus.
Well, really, what's the story of Breshit? We talked about this beginning of Breshit. Breshit is the story of... Yeah, it's the Toldot. It's the story of how God goes from choosing all of humanity to choosing a people. And Shemot is the story of that people. Right? And therefore you repeat it because it has 2 places. Right? It has a story in the end of the Breshit narrative and the beginning of the Shemot one. Who says this? The Ramban basically says something along those lines. But he actually takes the opposite. And he says, yes, it's the end of one and the beginning of the other, but the fundamental question whenever you do that is, what is the connection between story 1 and story 2? Meaning, is it a break? Meaning, Sefer 1, story of God, if he wanted all of humanity, that doesn't go well, so he picks a nation, and then we tell you the story of the nation, new, right, restart history, start again, or, what's more likely, what the Ramban says, it is true that there are 2 stories. Meaning it's 2 stories, but there's a continuity. Right, that's the point. Right, meaning the logical one is to say no. Yaakov's kids becoming the chosen nation is the end of one story, right, but it's also the beginning of a new story. Those are connected, right? When we talked about this all at the beginning of Breshit, meaning how much do you think that when God chose the Jewish people instead of humanity, that was really choosing the Jewish people instead of humanity, as opposed to a change not in chosenness, but a change in strategy? Meaning, do you directly choose all of humanity, or do you choose a people who will then educate humanity? In which case, the stories are connected because right, it's just a shift, and that's the position of the Ramban. So that, I think there's some truth to all of them, but I think as an introduction to Shemot, right, the Ramban is the most sort of holistic. Now the Ramban says this in two places. He both says this in Pasuk Aleph, but he also says this where? Before Pasuk Aleph, he has an introduction where he writes, "Hishlim Makatuv Sefer Breshit Shehu Sefer Yitzirah B'Chidush Ha'olam Yitzirat Kol Notzar." The Torah ended the story of the creation of the world. U'B'Mikrei Avot Kulam Sheminyan Yitzirah Lizaram, and the Avot and the creation of their children. V'nei Shekol Mikreihem Tzirei Dvarim Lirmoz Lodia Kol Ha'atid Lavo Lohem, because everything the Avot did is Maseh Avot L'Siman L'Banim for their children. V'Achar Sheishlam Yitzirah, after you talk about the creation, Hitchil Sefer Acher Binyan HaMaaseh Ba Min HaRazim. You start the next story. V'Yached Sefer Ve'Eil Shemot Binyan HaGalut HaRishon HaNigzar B'Feirush V'Gula Mimenu. And then the second book is devoted to the Galut and the Gula, the first Galut and Gula. And therefore he repeats it, even though he already said it, or the numbers and names of the original Jews, because that's the beginning of the Galut. It only ended when they got back to Israel, so after the Torah is over. This is only the beginning of the story because they're still golim because they're only in the midbar. And so then, once they had the Torah, so then the Shekhinah came back and they reached that level. At that point, they're Nigal, right? Meaning not fully, but fundamentally in terms of level, in terms of their status, they're Nigal, even though they don't get to Eretz Yisrael till the end. And therefore, we finish the Sefer with the Mishkan, right? Because he says, right, even though maybe the full Geulah isn't until they get back to Eretz Yisrael, Shemot is specifically the first Galut and the Geulah, and at least a significant step towards Geulah, at least on personal status level, in terms of is Har Sinai and the Mishkan, and we'll see what the connection is between those two when we get there. The Ramban has a whole theory about that, and that is why we write it this way. So again, basically you have sort of two localized theories. Right? Rashi just says, look, God loves us, so he repeats things. You have the Rashbam who says it's contrasting the few that we were with the fact that now we're a political problem because of Vayitritzu. And the Ramban sort of takes a bird's eye view and says, well, it's more than just those little points. It's also that there's a connection between Book 1 and Book 2. Book 1 talks about the creation of the world all the way to the Jewish people. And then Book 2 starts with the story of the Jewish people, and therefore the story of humanity to the Jewish people. And then the Jewish people themselves, obviously, one starts and the other begins. So you repeat the nexus between those two stories, which is the people who came down to Mitzrayim. And then the Ramban adds that once we're talking about Shemot and the theme of the book, the theme is specifically the first Galut and the Geulah, or as close to the Geulah as we're going to get before the end of Chumash, where you see the Jews developing as a people and returning to the spiritual status of the Avot. But I would add, which Ramban doesn't clarify, but it's clear throughout Shemot rather, the emergence of not people who are at that level, but a nation. Right, meaning a nation, right? The big difference is going to be that even if it's true that this is a Geulah, it's no longer Geulah people, right? The big story sort of in the background is that you're developing a nation rather than individuals, right? That's as the this is what the Rashbam is right pointing out, right? That's the big difference between the books. Okay, so that's a little bit of introduction to Shemot.